What is up, universe? We're back from Clay Guida to Curtis Blaydes. We're still chatting UFC 225, another Chicago boy. Hometown fight for you too, right?
Yep.
So I asked Clay, is this a fight you get to stay with someone, you get a hotel to get away from family and friends, seclude yourself? Well, what kind of approach do you take in that?
I got here a couple days early, so I was at my dad's house with my brother, just hanging out with him. But today's the beginning of a fight week, so we're gonna go back to the routine. I'll be in my hotel, doing what I normally do, distracting myself until the fight night.
And you're taking on Alistair Overeem, one of the premier names in not just MMA, but of all of combat sports. Second straight K1, former K1 champion for you, Mark Hunt, Alistair Overeem. Did you have to change up much in your camp? I know they're not similar fighters in terms of one is pure strength, and the other one is a little more finesse. Did you have to change much up?
No, that's a good thing about my style. It doesn't have to be adapted. It fits for anyone. If you're a grappler, if you're a striker, if you're tall, you're short, doesn't matter. I still want to wrestle you.
In your last fight, it was a pretty dominant decision when you threw Mark Hunt around in front of his hometown. And that was kind of your coming out party to the MMA world, where a lot of people knew who you were, but you beat Mark Hunt like that. People remember your name. Were you surprised Alistair took this fight with you, considering you just did that to another fellow K1 champion, and Alistair's might want an opponent to kind of stand and trade with him and get back in the win column?
Not surprised, because he pretty much didn't have any other options. It was either me or he'd have to wait for the winner of Verdum and Volkov, and I'm pretty sure he didn't want to wait that long, so he didn't really have any other options. And
you were both on UFC 213, I believe?
Yeah.
He fought right after you.
Yeah.
You were both in the same corner. I think you were both the red corner. Did you have any interaction with him?
Yeah, we spoke. He's a cool dude. Zero animosity.
Sure.
But we both have a job to do. We have to fight, so all that goes out the window.
And he had around 45, 46 fights before he even got to the UFC. And now he's 11 fights in, it was 11, 13 fights in, and your debut was 2014, 2013, around then, MMA?
Yeah.
And then you went a few years and then joined the UFC. What was your earliest memory of watching Alistair fight, just because he's been around since 1999?
I had a buddy in high school. He was a bigger MMA fan than I was, and he would always show me highlights of Alistair, other guys also, but I specifically remember Alistair's highlights. He has those powerful knees, and it was just cool to watch a guy drop from getting kneed into the sternum.
Do you ever think you would match up with him at all, or this early at least?
I didn't think about it, but that's what's great about this sport. Things just happen. You don't have to plan it. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. Like, I didn't even think I'd be in the UFC. I don't know when was the earliest time we spoke, but I know the last time we spoke, I didn't think I'd be here fighting with Alistair. It just kind of happens that way. The division's getting older. I know I'm a younger guy, so I knew eventually I'd be going up against legends like this, but I didn't think it'd be this year.
And a lot's been made, especially with Alistair, because he's such a big name, and then Rashad Evans, and we just talked to Clay earlier. They're lower on the card. They're not on the pay-per-view. CM Punk is on the pay-per-view. We talked a little bit off camera. It doesn't really seem to bother you, your placement on the card.
Nope. How can I argue when Benavidez, he's on a fight pass, Clay Guida, I'm fighting after him. Rashad Evans, another legend, he's on fight pass. Like, who am I to argue?
Sure. Have you spoken to any of them? And from what I've talked to, none of them really seem to care. Like, is it just in terms of showing? Do you like fighting earlier? That should be a better question.
If I had a preference, yeah. But I know the later you fight, that's more like an honor, respect things. Oh yeah, that's cool also. But I don't have any problems fighting early. I get to begin my night earlier than what I originally was scheduled to, which is fine with me. I'm here in Chicago. I want to be with my family and friends as long as I can. And
I know you're a heavyweight and you don't really have to cut a lot of weight. And I asked Clay this question, but you do come from a wrestling background, so weight cutting that's a wrestler's second nature. Where do you fall into the terms of the early weigh-in to going back to the old 4 p.m. weigh-in? Do you have a preference at all?
Actually, I do prefer just to get it over with.
Just the early
like you
one.
said, I don't really cut weight, so there's no reason for me to have to wait. Like, I'm already on weight. Why not get on the scale, get it over with? Because I don't like to eat until after I get on the scale. Just, it's a weird little thing I have. And I like to get on the scale super early, and then I can have a good breakfast.
And a lot's been made of this card, specifically to CM Punk. He's going to do big numbers, but then Colby Covington and RDA. We're talking right now. You're a very like mild-mannered guy. You're pretty calm, neutral. Like you said, you and Overeem just have a job to do. What do you make of Colby's spectacle? I guess. I mean, it's going to bring more eyes to the card and inevitably you. But does it get under your skin a little bit?
He's a clown.
He's a clown.
Just leave it. He's a clown.
So you're on the Tyron Woodley side if they ever match up.
Yo, yeah. Yeah. I never got with like all the antics. Like, I come from a wrestling background.
Sure.
There is no smack talk. I've never had to do that. Like, you go on the mat, you shake hands, you wrestle. Whoever wins, wins. Shake hands. You go back onto your seat, you cheer on your teammates, and that's the end of it.
So Colby came from a wrestling background too. Does that make it weirder?
I'm shocked. Yeah, I'm shocked, but I think he saw the money that McGregor got for doing it, and he was like, well, why not? And obviously it's working. He's getting an interim title shot, so I guess it does work. I just wish it didn't work.
But it wouldn't change your approach to anything, right?
No, I would never do that.
So you're on the Max Holloway win and become the money fight instead of talking your way into it.
Yes.
Do you think Colby will? How do you think he'll do against RDA? Because that seems to be the quote-unquote people's main event, the one people are tuning into. They either want to see if Colby's the real deal or if RDA can shut him up.
I don't think he's the real deal. Based on his fight with Damian Maia, in my opinion, Damian Maia was actually outstriking him in the first round until he just like gassed and started taking those bad takedown attempts. I think RDA's hands, based off his last fight with Robbie Lawler, looked fantastic. Like, he looks like an elite striker. I don't think Colby's hands are there. And when it comes to grappling, like, yeah, he's a good wrestler. He's a good wrestler, not a great wrestler.
Sure.
RDA is a good grappler, and he's a black belt. So, do you really want to go to the ground with him?
Right.
I don't know. He didn't want to go to the ground with Maia, and I'm not saying RDA is Maia, but he's a black belt. So.
And jumping to the main event, it's pretty much the polar opposite, where we had Yoel and Robert Whittaker, and they only said nice things about each other. And like you said, Romero comes from the elite level wrestling, silver medalist. Robert is one of the nicest human beings you'll ever meet. What are your thoughts on that matchup? I mean, are you leaning towards more of the wrestler just because that's your background?
Honestly, originally I was on for 213, but then after watching that,
that's right, same card as the
after watching that fight, I couldn't help but come away like impressed with Whittaker. He's got all of it. He's got like, you wouldn't think he'd be that good of a wrestler. He doesn't have the look to him, but he can grapple, he can strike, he can move. He has great cardio. His fight against Jacare, it showed he's not easy to take down or hold down. So this one's a pick 'em. Like, honest, if you like MMA, this is the fight to watch.
So, and this is the first pay-per-view in the history of the UFC in Chicago, so a couple of great night of fights. Specifically as a heavyweight, I wanted to ask you, the upcoming heavyweight title fight between DC and Stipe, a lot's been made of like Alexander Gustafsson saying DC's holding up the division. As a heavyweight, do you think Stipe's holding up division, challenging a light heavyweight, or do you just want to see that fight?
Yeah, I want to see that fight. DC, I think, is undefeated as a heavyweight, so it's not like he's just some random light heavyweight that chose to jump up. It would be different if it was John Jones. Like, he's not random, but he's never fought a heavyweight. DC has proven he can beat heavyweights. So, yeah, and he got the belt. That's like the new thing to do now. Like, have a champ fight the champ, especially when the weight classes are so close. And they'll probably weigh about the same on
about around 230, 235.
Yeah.
And DC has made it known that at 40 years old, he plans to retire, no matter what. Like, even if they offer him a Brock Lesnar fight,
I don't blame him.
At 41, he's gone. Do you look at the division, like say DC wins and then he retires in a year? Do you look at it as like the UFC heavyweight division is about to be wide open very soon? You're a young guy, you're new, you're winning. Are you looking forward to like the next few years of that?
Oh yeah, I think the stars are aligning for me. I'm only 27 years old. I think I'm the best wrestler in the division. My hands are growing at an exponential rate. I see myself definitely having the belt within the next year or so.
And sticking in the heavyweight division, two of your old opponents, Mark Hunt and Oleksiy Oliynyk, are matching up, supposedly matching up in Russia. How do you think that's going to play? It was originally going to be Verdum, but then Mark Hunt came in. Do you like that matchup just as a fan, like a grappler versus a K1 striker?
I always like the traditional grappler versus striker. It always ends that argument, who's better. It can honestly go either way. It depends if whoever implements their game plan more effectively. If Mark Hunt gets that overhand on him, I think Oleksiy goes down. But if Oleksiy can get him against the cage and he's got sneaky old man grappling. I don't know. He's not the strongest guy in the world, but he knows how to get to where he wants to get. And I think he gets him on the ground. I was able to hold down Hunt, so Oleksiy, he'll go to work.
You think 5 rounds is going to make a difference? Mark Hunt's headlined a few cards.
I don't think it's going 5 rounds. I doubt it.
All right, we'll close it up here. Curtis Blaydes, the featured fight in the prelim, on the prelims, take on Alistair Overeem at the United Center. United Center, is that a bucket list?
It wasn't. I never thought I'd be at the UC fighting. I was at the Pavilion, and that was great.
Sure.
That was a couple years ago, so I'm happy I'm there, though.
Is this on a level with MSG? You fought at MSG. Is this on that level just because you're a Chicago guy?
Yeah, just because I'm a Chicago guy.
Sure.
I think the Garden has a longer history, but I'm a Chicago kid. Like, I've been at the UC watching the Bulls. I've watched Blackhawks there. Like, it's historic for me.
Does it cross your mind, like, this is the arena that Jordan won all these?
It is a little bit. Like, the closer we get, I start thinking about all the greats that have used those locker rooms.
And we'll close it off. Curtis Blaydes, thanks for joining us. You can catch him Saturday, UFC 225, featured bout of the prelim card against Alistair Overeem.
Thank you guys for having me.